Mario and Luigi are possibly the most recognizable duo in the history of gaming. Even people who aren't avid video gamers could still recognize the iconic red and green Italians. Nintendo has made dozens upon dozens of games starring the two brothers alongside their vast ensemble of friends and foes, but there's one series that truly puts the siblings at the center: the Mario and Luigi series. Best title I've ever heard. Primarily developed by the studio Alpha Dream, Mario & Luigi is a series of action role-playing games on Nintendo's handheld systems, where you play as both brothers at the same time and explore unique worlds not seen in typical Mario games. This long-running franchise has been a staple of Nintendo's handhelds ever since the 2000s, with 6 original adventures and 2 remakes. Oh god, the 2000s? Oh no, I don't like that. Anyway, let's talk about that. The first Mario & Luigi game was released in 2003 for the Game Boy Advance, titled Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga. Now, the idea of a Mario role-playing game was not new at this point. There had already been 2 Mario role-playing games released by then, the first being Super Mario RPG for the Super Nintendo, developed by Square in 1996, and Paper Mario by Intelligent Systems for the Nintendo 64 in 2001. Many of the people at Alpha Dream were former Square employees, according to Japanese outlet Inside Games, so it's no surprise that the experience with Super Mario RPG helped shape this new title. One of the biggest ideas Superstar Saga builds on from Super Mario RPG is the use of action commands during combat, where you have to press a button with the right timing to successfully perform that action, rather than passively watching it happen. Alpha Dream producer and co-director of Super Mario RPG Yoshihiko Makawa said in an IGN interview that the idea for action commands was inspired by a Japanese children's toy, where you had to press buttons in time with the music, and how this concept helped bring together the RPG genre and the action genre in a novel and engaging way. Action commands would become a staple of all future Mario RPGs, and would even start appearing in other games beyond Nintendo. But Superstar Saga built upon this idea by mapping the 2 face buttons of the Game Boy Advance to the actions of Mario and Luigi individually. Whether you wanted to jump, attack, defend, or use an ability, it would always be 1 button per brother. Beyond the control scheme, the game had a comprehensive combat system. You could do attacks with both brothers working together in what the series would name Bros attacks, and use action commands to dodge and counterattack, all against a wide variety of unique enemies. Plus, you get to explore an expansive new world filled with original characters, all while experiencing a much more comedic yet story-heavy adventure than you'd usually get from a standard Mario game. I mean, the story isn't high art or anything like that, it's still Mario, nobody's expecting Interstellar here. But a plot where the villain Cackletta steals Princess Peach's voice and replaces it with explosives, sending Mario and Luigi off to the Bean Bean Kingdom to fix the mess, is still a lot weirder and way more memorable than what you would normally get from a Mario game. Superstar Saga was a smash hit upon release, selling over 2 million copies according to VG charts, and achieving a score of 90 on review aggregator site Metacritic. Some reviews called it a fun and engaging spin on the traditional RPG experience, and the perfect mix of turn-based combat, adventuring, and platforming all in one. Why does this sound like an Accolades trailer? Why does this sound... Obviously, with this success, a sequel was bound to happen, but this time would be different, because Nintendo released a new handheld system in 2004, the Nintendo DS. This system was a vast departure from the Game Boy Advance, because it had a touchscreen in addition to a regular screen, as well as improved hardware and a new control layout. This time, instead of just 2 face buttons, we had 4. Now, with the established system of 1 button per brother from Superstar Saga, of course Alpha Dream came to the natural conclusion. A game where the Mario brothers travel back in time and team up with their infant selves to fend off a race of aliens that want to take over the Mushroom Kingdom. Naturally, this game was titled Mario & Luigi Partners in Time, and was released in late 2005. It sees the elder Mario brothers on the A and B buttons as before, with the infant brothers on X and Y. The babies travel alongside the adults, but are able to venture off separately into areas that the adults can't reach. Sometimes they'd even split the action between the 2 screens, with the actions of one duo on the top screen helping the other duo on the bottom screen. Each generation of brothers had its own unique moves, abilities, and special bros attacks, making exploration, puzzle solving, and combat way more interesting. Although personally I think if you send toddlers into combat you should be put on some kind of list and or lists, But whatever, it was a genuine evolution of the systems established in the first title, while making effective use of the unique hardware, and was yet another success for both Nintendo and Alpha Dream. While it did sell less than Superstar Saga did at about 1.7 million copies according to VG charts, it did score an incredibly respectable 86 on Metacritic, with people saying... Actually, wait, hold on, let me do this right this time. Critics everywhere are loving Mario & Luigi Partners in Time, a solid follow-up to Superstar Saga. Another charming, high-quality RPG worth any DS owner's while. Retains most of the original's brilliance, though not quite as funny. Wait, how did that one get in there? Once again, it was time for the next game in the series. The producer of this next game, Akira Otani, stated in an interview with late Nintendo president Satoru Iwata that this next title would be a, quote, chance to rally after the slow sales of Partners in Time. Okay, that's all well and good, but what do they do? Like, where do they go from here? They've already tried having all the buttons be on a different character. Well, this time, they decided to give both of those new buttons to Bowser, the long-running villain of the Mario franchise. But the Mario Brothers wouldn't be teaming up with Bowser to explore some brand new kingdom, no. This time, they would be helping Bowser by... exploring his insides. I hate that those words just left my mouth. Mario & Luigi Bowser's Inside Story was released in 2009 for the Nintendo DS and starred Bowser in a playable role for the first and only time in the series. This time, Bowser was tricked by Fawful, the antagonist from Superstar Saga, into inhaling everyone inside Peach's castle, including Mario and Luigi. From there, the game splits into two storylines, Bowser rampaging around the Mushroom Kingdom trying to stop Fawful from taking over both his castle and Peach's kingdom, and the Mario Brothers exploring Bowser's body at a microscopic scale and helping him without his knowledge. This feels like a fever dream crossover between Kirby and Osmosis Jones. Bowser's gameplay is on the top screen and is controlled with the X and Y buttons, where he explores the world in a top-down view, while the brothers are on the bottom screen controlled by the A and B buttons like usual, in a side-scrolling platformer setup. What makes the setup so clever is that the two sides constantly affect each other. Bowser handles the brute force action outside, while the brothers solve puzzles within Bowser, fight his internal enemies like cells and viruses, and even boost Bowser's attacks from within. You can even use Bowser's new inhaling ability to swallow enemies during combat, leading to Mario and Luigi fighting the enemies you inhale inside of Bowser's stomach. More than anything, Bowser's Inside Story feels like the point where the series got confident in how out there and weird it could be, while still being incredibly fun. Instead of just doing the same old thing again, it turned Bowser into a playable character, introduced story continuity by bringing back Fawful from Superstar Saga, and split the adventure into two completely separate perspectives that constantly influence each other. It kept the series fresh, unique, and fun, and people loved it. According to VG charts, the game sold over 4.5 million copies total, making it the best-selling game in the franchise so far, and Metacritic reports another glowing score of 90. An incredible entry in this iconic series. Now, this next entry would once again find itself in uncharted waters for two reasons. One, it was Alpha Dream's first foray onto the Nintendo 3DS, a successor to the DS with a glasses-free 3D display, improved graphics, and more advanced controls. Two, this game would be released in 2013, which Nintendo deemed the Year of Luigi in celebration of the 30th anniversary of his first appearance. As such, Alpha Dream decided to center the next entry in the Mario & Luigi series on the iconic Green Plumber. Mario & Luigi Dream Team was the result. This game was actually my introduction to the series. Like, look, there's me in Christmas of 2013. Thanks, Nana and Pop, love you. But I'll try my best to look at this through unbiased eyes. In this game, Peach is kidnapped into the dream world, and the Mario Brothers have to venture through both the real world and Luigi's dreams to save her, all while preventing the Dream Stone from falling into the wrong hands. Absolutely riveting for your average 10-year-old nerd. For the first time since Superstar Saga, the game only has the two brothers in a playable role. But Luigi is more than enough thanks to his dream worlds. He has all sorts of special abilities in his mindscape, ranging from controlling parts of the environment like wind and gravity, to creating hundreds of Luiginoid clones to make massive jumps or roll down hills. In the real world, combat is the usual Mario and Luigi fare, but in the dream world, Luigi fuses with Mario to strengthen his abilities with dream powers. Everything you do, Luigi does better. Luigi does everything better than you. your bro's attacks become Luiginary attacks that summon hundreds of Luiginoids to rain fire upon your foes, creating a massive stack of Luigis to crush a bunch of enemies at once, making a giant hammer out of Luigis, rolling up a giant ball of Luigis to bowl over your enemies. Luigi, 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 it's all just Luigi! There are so many Luigis in this game that they could conquer Italy! This game was also a step in a new direction for the series in terms of technology and art style. Due to the 3DS having, well, a 3D display, they shifted to full 3D environments for the first time, while sticking to the iconic 2D pixel animation for the characters. In an Iwata Asks interview, Alpha Dream director Hiroyuki Kubota and Nintendo director Akira Otani spoke about the challenges of developing a fully 3D game for the first time in the studio's history, such as drawing detailed shading on the 2D characters to help them better blend in with the 3D environment, or having to double their usual number of animations due to the increased directionality of the 3DS's circle pad. This game was an incredible celebration of our man in green here, but for the first time in the series' history, it actually had some turbulent reception. It wasn't received poorly, but the Metacritic score dropped from its usual upper 80s to lower 90s range to an 81. These complaints mostly arise from the game's length feeling padded and slow, and an unnecessary abundance of patronizing tutorials. Like, even the review with the highest score on Metacritic still calls these flaws out. The game sold pretty well though, with over 2 million copies according to VG charts, but this was the first significant slump in the series. But hey, 10-year-old me ate this up, that's for sure. I mean, why else do you think I was licking my lips there? Despite Dream Team's minor dip in reception, fans eagerly awaited the next entry. And in 2016, they'd get it in the form of Mario & Luigi Paper Jam, also for the Nintendo 3DS. This game took a new approach by crossing over with another beloved Mario RPG series, Paper Mario. The two franchises had usually occupied different lanes, with Nintendo's handheld systems featuring Mario & Luigi, and their home consoles featuring Paper Mario. In fact, according to a Nintendo Life article, Alpha Dream director Hiroyuki Kubota and Nintendo producer Akira Otani stated that they preferred the handheld systems for Mario & Luigi, since they lent well with the pixel art style. This crossover came at an interesting time for both series, though. Not only did Mario & Luigi start facing some criticism from their most recent entry, but the Paper Mario series was in a similar boat, since 2012's Paper Mario Sticker Star strayed away from the more original worlds, deeper stories, and bespoke character designs of earlier entries that fans knew and loved. But the idea of these two long-running series intersecting for the first time generated a lot of excitement. Maybe such a crossover could bring both series back to their former glory? Not really. The premise is that Princess Peach discovers a magic book that contains the world of Paper Mario, and the contents of the book spill out into their world. Bowser and Paper Bowser decide to team up and kidnap both princesses. What were you expecting? Paper Mario accompanies Mario and Luigi to stop the two Bowsers and help all of the Paper people get back home. Now, a lot of people would ask where Paper Luigi is, but after Dream Team, I think one more Luigi would make me overdose. The player controls all three of them at the same time, and can utilize new trio actions that take advantage of Paper Mario's, well, paperness. So on and so forth, kind of par for the course for this series. Overall, this game was both a unique entry in the franchise and a standard Mario & Luigi adventure at the same time. Unfortunately, this didn't end up being the bounce back that many people were hoping for, only selling a little over 1 million units according to VG charts, and the lowest average Metacritic score of the series so far, at 76. While the core of Mario & Luigi that people enjoyed was still there in spades, many reviews called out the unnecessary padding and repetitive tasks present throughout the game. In the end, this entry in the series kinda fell flat. Like Paper. Maybe it would have sold better if they had crossed over with Poster Board Mario instead. With 2 games in a row suffering declining sales and reception, Alpha Dream decided that they would start from square one for the next entry in the series. And by that, I mean they decided to remake the first game in the series for the 3DS. Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga plus Bowser's Minions was released in 2017, and with this entry, Alpha Dream made the entire series playable on one platform. It was like finally welcoming the eldest son back into the family home, but only after some intensive plastic surgery. This remake brought the almost 2-decade-old title up to speed with the latest entries, using the modern art style plus a brand new lighting system, and adding tons of quality of life improvements. Additionally, the game featured a brand new side mode titled Minion Quest: The Search for Bowser, where you play as Captain Goomba recovering Bowser's army after they were brainwashed by Fawful. The gameplay for this mode took the form of a real-time strategy game, building up an army of your own to go against the brainwashed minions. Overall, this game didn't do too well. VG Charts reports that only 500,000 copies of the game were ever sold, the lowest so far, and the Metacritic score landed at 81, with reviews boiling down to the original game was redone well, but the new side mode isn't really worth it. The remake was also released a few months into the lifespan of Nintendo's newest system, the Nintendo Switch, so that probably didn't help sales much either. You know, like polishing off an old shiny thing won't do much when there's a brand new shiny thing that everyone's focused on. Alpha Dream was really in trouble now. After the failure of the Superstar Saga remake, they really needed a comeback story. They needed something to bring the series and themselves back to the top. This was their chance to rally. Wait, where have I heard that phrase before? Mario & Luigi Bowser's Inside Story plus Bowser Jr.'s Journey was released on the Nintendo 3DS in 2019 to a resounding thud. Now, on paper, this release makes sense. You know, like Bowser's Inside Story was the most successful game in the series, and Alpha Dream really needs money right now, so why not remake this game? The problem with that is the 3DS could already play the original Bowser's Inside Story, since it could play all DS games. At least with Superstar Saga, it was putting the one game you couldn't play on the 3DS on the 3DS. But remaking a game you could already play on that system while also being 1 year into the lifespan of a newer console that a lot of people had already jumped ship to, yeah, it's no wonder this game bombed. It's the same kind of song and dance as the Superstar Saga remake here, you know, improved graphics and music, quality of life improvements, so on and so forth. The side mode in this game was basically the same as the Superstar remake, but this time you play as Bowser Jr. instead of Captain Goomba. Ooh, what a twist. The game got an average score of 84 on Metacritic, and it sold around 10,000 copies according to VG Charts. Just 10,000. Alpha Dream was now facing its second financial flop in a row for this series. Revenue was dropping and development costs were rising. An article from Yahoo Japan stated that Alpha Dream was also 465 million yen in debt by the end of the 2018 fiscal year. The following year, Alpha Dream would file for bankruptcy and close its doors. By this point, many assumed that the series was dead, and for a while it was. Nintendo itself stated in a developer interview that they were struggling to think of new ideas for the series, and were even considering retiring it. But eventually, Nintendo found a new team to take up the task, Acquire, best known nowadays for co-developing the hit RPG Octopath Traveler with Square Enix. When development began, Acquire also brought on some former members of Alpha Dream to help bring the brothers back. Acquire's first entry would release in 2024 for the Nintendo Switch, Mario & Luigi Brothership. Aside from the new developer, Brothership was a groundbreaker in many categories. It was the first original entry in the series in almost a decade, the first to be fully done in 3D, the first in the series on the Nintendo Switch, and the first entry on a home console, or hybrid console, whatever. This game centers around the Mario Brothers sailing through a new world called Concordia, reconnecting all of the scattered islands after a disaster destroyed their unifying tree. Also, I gotta say, I love how these new character designs here are all inspired by wall sockets, like with how they almost look like faces and stuff. It's great. Just don't feed them forks, or get them wet. In terms of gameplay, Brothership takes a simpler approach to the series formula. Only Mario and Luigi are playable this time, and the combat is the same polished, brother-based fun that you've come to expect, without any game-defining gimmicks that the most popular entries of the series would often add. Frankly, given the shift in studio, this back-to-basics mentality makes a lot of sense. Like, you try being resurrected by a new studio. There's gonna be some growing pains. That's not to say there's nothing new here, though. The main mechanic that this game introduces is Luigi logic, where Luigi will think of some wacky solution to a problem that the brothers are facing and start acting outside of your control, and you have to work with Luigi to solve the problem. The game received decent reviews, earning a 77 on Metacritic. Not a horrible score, obviously, especially for a studio's first entry into a 2-decade-old series, but there's clearly room for improvement and growth. Most reviews praise the game for keeping the original spirit of the series alive in its gameplay, combat, vibrant art, expressive animation, and its heartfelt story about connections and bonds, but also criticize the game's length, which felt unnecessarily dragged out. It seems to be a running theme with these. As of April 2025, VG Charts claims the game has sold just shy of 2 million copies, so I think it's safe to say the brothers are back. So that's quite the journey, huh? 8 games spanning 23 years with all sorts of highs and lows, and even a resurrection in there too. It's like the New Testament but with more Italians. The Mario and Luigi series took a simple idea of one button per brother and expanded it into a beloved lineup of portable RPGs with a unique identity all their own, constantly reinventing that formula with each new game, sometimes brilliantly and sometimes not. Even if the original developer Alpha Dream didn't survive the lowest point of the series, its revival thanks to Acquire goes to show that they created something truly special, something worthy of saving, and I can't think of a better legacy to give the most iconic duo in the history of gaming.